Hi, welcome to our fourth Riffle Greencast podcast. We're really, really pleased to have you on. So Luke is founder of Propflow. So Luke, do you want to give us a quick overview of what Propflow is and what it does?
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, thanks for inviting me on. Really appreciate it. I found the other episodes really interesting, so thanks for that. Founded Propflow to help people make green upgrades to their home, and we do that via a digital report called GreenVal, and that really is about the energy efficiency of the property and helping people to make informed decisions about what retrofit to do, and like the benefits and the costs and the savings, etc. They can then get direct quotes from vetted and national suppliers. And then we've also got access to a home hub, which helps people to essentially monitor the impact of the improvements that they've made, and then essentially continue that journey towards net zero. And we provide these tools through partners like Ripple, but also mortgage advisors, lenders, estate agents. So we're very much providing that infrastructure to help those companies engage homeowners in that journey.
And you said it's national, so people wherever they are in the country, can they then link up with people who are either national or in their region?
Exactly. So we've got a number of suppliers and they have national reach, and they all have local sort of hubs as well. So we very much vet based on the quality of work they do. Are they accredited? Do they have insurance-backed guarantees? What are their Trustpilot reviews? Those sorts of things. So we're not going for a massive marketplace of loads of different suppliers, Dave down the road and that sort of thing, but actually like accredited reputable national suppliers.
And what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's kind of just starting out on their kind of energy efficiency journey and looking for what might be the first thing that they could do?
I think the first thing is getting back to basics. Like, why are you upgrading your home? Is it about net zero, leaving something for your family, leaving the world in a better place? Or is it something much more closer to home? Is it around energy security, savings on your energy bills? Is it about having stable energy bills? And I think that's where Ripple actually has a really great offer. Maybe if you're in your forever home or you're close to retirement and you just want the stability of knowing roughly what bills you're going to be getting, it's essentially pre-purchased electricity over its lifetime, right? So I think the first thing is understanding why you want to do retrofitting, and that might inform what improvements you get, but also when you get them and when you phase them, and then also understanding what the costs and the benefits are. And it's not just around energy savings and the cost of the equipment, but it could be maintenance of that equipment goes on the costs column. But then you might also get health and well-being improvements. You might get mortgage savings, tax savings if you're a landlord, and that's essentially where GreenVal tries to take that holistic business case, so that you can make a better informed decision.
What are some of the most common upgrades that people tend to do first as that first step?
It depends on what your budget is, or if you can get grant funded improvements, but usually people can get some quick wins under their belt, really. So even things like thermal curtains does make a difference to like thermal comfort of your property, right? And we do get a lot of people essentially looking at those low-hanging fruit, and there's also things like you can get a thermal survey for a few £100, and it might detect certain leaks in your home, like uncontrolled ventilation. If you can just seal those up, that might actually make quite a significant impact. So there's a lot of like small things you can do. In terms of major improvements, a quick win is solar panels. If you can get those, then Ripple's a really good alternative to that. But sort of a major piece to getting to net zero and actually increasing our energy security as a nation are heat pumps, or some sort of electric heating. Heat pumps might not necessarily be applicable to every home, but that's potentially quite a major piece of work. So it could be that you start with some loft insulation, some solar panels, getting those leaks under control, and then when you're ready to replace your boiler, whatever time in the future it is, then you look at like an electrical heating alternative.
We spoke to one person and they described like an eco ladder, and like you would start off on the bottom rung might be like you say, kind of like insulated curtains and things like that, and then you can just work your way up, and it kind of doesn't matter where you start on the ladder. The key thing is that you do take that first step and then you kind of build from there. And I think people might not realize there are lots of things they can do really quite basic things that can actually have quite an immediate and significant impact on their lives.
There's also like behavioral change as well. So heating controls, just setting them at the right temperatures, and like, there's zoning now. So in my property, basically every room has a smart thermostat. So I can essentially schedule it so that I'm most comfortable when we use certain parts of the house.
And you mentioned people doing work in kind of phases. So does Propflow kind of help you plan out those phases as well, and when they might be most convenient according to what else you're kind of doing in the house?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously if you're grant funded, you can just get maybe a renovation completely, whole house retrofit. Great. We can do that. Our suppliers can like handhold you through that grant process, whether it's the energy company obligation or Great British Insulation Scheme, for example. But when it's in terms of phasing, we do, again, it goes back to this GreenVal digital report on your property. We do have like a recommended order, which is usually based on sort of the government recommended order. But we have got a lot of insights around if you take it outside of that order. So if you want to have the cheapest first or the easiest to install first, you can sort of order those and phase them as you what's most important to you. So yeah, we definitely we do that and help to phase that through.
One thing that's quite important is sort of getting people to be able to take it in little steps and not be kind of forced in like right in the deep end at the kind of thing that might be more expensive or just kind of more daunting to do, that you can kind of build up in steps.
Yeah, and I think, again, not to sort of plug Ripple too much, but you guys, you don't have to invest. You could potentially have solar panels and Ripple as well, and you can maybe even start with Ripple and then get solar panels at a later date to sort of top up. So yeah, I think it is small steps, but it is about making those steps.
And we hear loads about AI and how it's going to take over the world. But how do you use Propflow? How do you use AI?
AI is just prevalent everywhere. Most businesses will be using some form of AI, and essentially we use particularly machine learning on the GreenVal report and on our portfolio analysis for landlords, where it's about, there's so much data on properties. It's about making sure that we overlay the correct sets and get a good profile on that property. So a part of AI is around decision making, and then I think another really exciting part is around engagement longer term, and actually using those large language models like ChatGPT to understand actually, can they help you change your behavior? Can they provide more bespoke advice going through, almost acting as an energy assessor? I think that's still a bit of a way out, but the innovation in this area is really quite fast. So who knows, in a few years' time, we might be seeing much more of that.
Why do you think it is so important for people to improve their energy efficiency? Kind of what do you see as the main kind of motivations for people?
Yeah, so also I think early adopters have been motivated by climate change, but I think for the majority of people, that's quite abstract. That's like a long way off. Even though it's like a massive tidal wave coming, it's it doesn't feel close enough. But I think what makes me, so I'm really passionate about climate change, but what's actually motivated me is the energy security. That has really changed over the last few years with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But not just that, there's also Houthis blocking the Red Sea, and that drives up oil prices. So we're really dependent on like global gas and oil prices, and as a sovereign nation, we really need to get a handle on this and make sure that we're producing a lot more of our own energy, making sure it's green energy. So I think for energy security, even though it might not be necessarily driving everyone, the effects of the energy security, so the raising bills after the Ukraine war, this month we've had a 10%, 11% increase in energy bills. So even if they're not understanding the full overall sort of global energy security piece, they're feeling the effects of it coming through, right? And through the cost of living. People aren't quite grasping it at the moment, again, as a sort of step away, but as the impact on the health and well-being. So what's your thermal comfort? How well ventilated is your property? Is it causing damp and mold, indoor air quality issues? And actually energy efficiency and health and well-being, massive sort of interlinks there. I think there's like poor housing cost, I think maybe even cold homes, is about nearly £1 billion a year to the NHS.
And I think even a couple of years ago, there was the UK's first ever, it's like an energy efficiency scheme that was prescribed by doctors, because there is such a huge link between health and energy well-being. And if you are living in leaky, damp homes, it's so terrible for your health that actually GPs, the most effective way for people to get better was not just be given medicine, was to actually treat the source. So I think we are starting to get a kind of those, more of the dots joined up, but it obviously takes quite a long time.
So if we can connect health as well with the home, it starts to just become a no-brainer in terms of making your home much more comfortable and healthy. People don't get a new kitchen necessarily to add value to their property, right? They get it for the enjoyment of it. So if we can start making that connection much clearer, and again, on our GreenVal report, we actually have a well-being rating, again, it's just one step which we're trying to do, where if you don't rate it or you don't measure it, then how can you sort of create awareness of it, right? And then it's just in terms of health as well, there's also financial health. So, how exposed are you to gas price rises in future? I don't think anyone wants to be in that situation where, there's another war and energy prices go through the roof again.
We saw that with our first project that was operating over the energy crisis, that, that year, those members that owned that bit of that wind farm saved on average £1,000 off their electricity bill. So they were protected from those crazy high prices. Now that prices have come down, their savings are less. But it just shows the importance of just that link between climate action, but also building that kind of financial resilience as well. And there was, I think it was about 10 years ago, there was a big government study done on, a low carbon economy is a more resilient economy because it's less susceptible to energy price shocks and things like that. And I think we've seen, even in like Germany and places like that, they have taken action, very strong and ambitious action on energy efficiency in response to the Ukraine crisis, and it's kind of worked. It's done really well. So I think it is, the more we can do to kind of like show that improving the energy efficiency of your house, or buying a bit of a wind farm or a solar park, isn't just about one kind of topic. It's about financial well-being, it's about climate action. You can also get wellness, but also you can just, from Ripple's perspective, you can just feel really proud that you've done something that makes a difference. And I think so many people are looking for something that, deep down, they know they've made a sort of positive impact on the world. So it's just kind of being able to like cover as many different kind of motivations as possible.
Yeah, and I think, we're essentially like founders of purpose-led companies, Sarah. And, I think we understand that it's about making that difference. I almost see it as like my patriotic duty to get, to net zero and like, electrified, increasing our energy security, because it means we can't be blackmailed by tyrants overseas, right? And or subject to gas price increases. And you mentioned AI previously. There's a massive revolution going on with this at the moment, but the key to AI is also energy usage and data centers. So again, the country which has got energy ubiquity, essentially, so cheap energy and energy that they control, are going to be a better place to actually capitalize on some of those other industries of the future as well. So it's about long-term thinking, but I think we do have to have that whole sort of spectrum of benefits. The reason why we particularly go through lenders, mortgage brokers and estate agents is because they're there at natural trigger points when you might consider doing renovations to your property, green improvements. So we need that sort of bottom up, but we also need that, and I think the government's probably best placed to sort of with their, I think it's another 6.6 billion in terms of warmer homes that they're spending. So they're very much starting to push the energy efficiency agenda. It feels like a good direction. We just need almost like a very dedicated marketing campaign and a number of other policies that really start to, because government doesn't necessarily need to spend lots of money. It could be that they just de-risk it for others, de-risk it for the consumer. help lenders underwrite cheaper, greener loans for these sorts of things. So,
I think as well, just making it, I think there's a big role for the government in kind of just normalizing it and making it like, of course, you know, you've just moved into this new property. Of course, you want to give it like an an energy MOT, and make sure that you're not spending ridiculous amounts of money on energy over the long term. But you know, getting people at those kind of real milestone points where they might be looking to do other things, but also just, you know, normalizing, you know, your gas boilers looking like it's on its last legs. Maybe start considering, start considering getting a heat pump now, not when your boiler's broken and it's a kind of distressed purchase, just to kind of get it on people's radar, because it is kind of, I think so many things are done, outside of the, right, we're doing the house up kind of period in time. They're very distressed purchases. And actually then when you are in that distressed position of like, oh my God, I haven't got any heating, you know, your options narrow right down. And so by having people being more aware early on, before they're in a distress, oh my God, the heating's not working kind of thing, they know they can take a more considered view on what are the options. And then at the moment we're offering Ripple members can get a free survey. Is it from
exactly. So through Ripple you can check out your digital report. If you live in the Southwest, we're also you can get some smart home kit for 70% off as well. So if you want to look at things like heat loss, real-time heat loss, mold risk detection, those sorts of things, indoor air quality, even allergen detection, you can get that through Retrofit West and send us the voucher code. But through Ripple, you can go through that GreenVal tool and get those sorts of improvements. And then once you've got those quotes, you can get onto our home hub and then, like I said, manage those improvements over the course of the lifetime of that property while you're in there. Fabulous.
And I think £50 off your first energy efficiency improvement.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think the key thing here is you won't get it cheaper elsewhere. So essentially what we're doing is saving the suppliers' marketing budgets. They spend huge amounts on, ads with Facebook and Google and like newspapers. By going through Ripple and other businesses, it means that there's a huge saving there, and we can actually leverage bulk discounts essentially, because we're going through employers and larger businesses. So we've got a larger reach to negotiate down those prices. So if anything, you might even get it cheaper than going direct to the supplier themselves.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And so many of our members, we kind of, some of them, owning a bit of a wind farm or a solar park is kind of like the absolute, icing on already a very, very sophisticated cake, where they've got EVs, they've got solar, they've got heat pumps. But for a large number of our members, they're kind of like, owning a bit of a wind farm or a solar park is the first step that they've made. And we want to show them, look, it's really easy. You get savings direct on your bill every month, and then be able to say to them, look at what else you can do. Have you considered this? And kind of signposting people to other steps that they might want to make, because, we know they want to do more and they are actively looking for more things to do. So that's why we're really, really pleased to be able to point them in the direction of Propflow and just open, their kind of horizons. So, okay, right, these are the other things that you can do. They're not, particularly daunting, and you can kind of do it in your own phased way, which is, I think so crucial for people.
And I think, someone's property is usually the most, financially relevant, asset that they've got, right? And, a lot of people are very conscious about their asset, the property value. And I do see energy efficiency, I've just did a post on LinkedIn today looking at what the private renter sector needs to do in order to reach 2030 standards, minimum energy efficiency standards. And it's something like, because they now include social housing, it's something like 61,000 retrofits per month if we start right now, and it's not even law yet. And we're currently doing, in terms of energy, renewable energy installations, around 18,000 per month. And so it's really going to be quite tight. And I do see us missing targets as a country. And I do think future governments are going to have to start mandating things, and it's slowly, the ratchet's slowly going to tighten. And I think if you can get ahead of that curve now, get your property up to a C, maybe get some renewable energy, I think you're just going to be very, well placed to sort of, just be, not even considered any of those. I think at one point there's sort of like, people were muting, you can't sell a property if it's below a C, right? So if you haven't done the upgrade. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting to like 2035, 2040, we're not hitting targets, and then the government's starting to regulate the actual able to pay market and individual homeowners. So I think for me, it's about, there's a load of benefits for doing it anyway. Just, I think you should be starting to consider that. It's, benefits you, it benefits society and our country. So, I think Ripple is a really good complement to that as well, particularly if, you want to add stuff to the solar. Maybe you haven't got a big enough roof, or you're a mid flat, for example, and you can get solar. Not many people can get wind. So, if buying into a wind farm, buying into a solar farm, I think, and that, it's able to go with you as well. I think that's a really great, complementary, and it needs to happen in parallel to the wider retrofit challenge that we're facing at the moment.
Yeah, fab. Well, Luke, it's been amazing having you on the Greencast, and also just chatting to another really kind of purpose-driven founder is really amazing. So thank you so much. And yeah, it's been wonderful. So we really look forward to loads of Ripple members being able to learn what they can possibly do energy efficiency wise on their houses with Propflow.
Brilliant. Again, thanks for inviting me, Sarah. And like I said, Ripple's an amazing product and business. So really happy to sort of work with you.